Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
Yes, it works.
Awesome. I didn't think it would actually work, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yes, it works. And so hopefully I sent the email to everybody.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll be in and joining us soon. And then if you want to, well, I'll go and find the event page on your page and I'll share it in Twitter.
Okay.
So, and Michael is going to be here?
Yeah, he said he might be late. He has a little one that he has to put down for a nap, so.
Ah, very good. Okay, so I'm gonna let you have it. Oh, there's Michael.
He's fast. Hey, Michael.
Hello.
Hello, thank you for doing this.
No problem.
All right, and so I'll let you at it then, Sarah. I'm gonna watch you all.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Thanks for coming, Michael.
No problem.
We're still waiting on a few people. They're probably still logging in, so.
No problem.
Is your little one down for a nap already?
Yep.
Mine are in bed playing video games because my oldest has, I think he has strep, so.
That's not good.
No, it's not. And so my youngest is 5. She's pretty excited because she gets to play video games with him. Yeah.
So are you in a class right now? Is that?
Yeah, it's educational technology 635. So we all created online modules to train our colleagues, and we had to pick a New Horizon 21st century skill, and I chose gamification. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I knew nothing about it before this, so you still by far know more than me. I'm learning.
It's a good topic.
Yeah, so Lee gave me your video to watch from the Google Hangout she did with you, so I watched that and read Lee Sheldon's book and then made a little module on it. So
That's a good book.
yeah,
I like how that that book does the case studies.
Uh-huh.
So that you can get a really good work in a second grade classroom and it can work in a college classroom.
Exactly, yeah. It did help quite a bit. I've been out of the classroom because we were moving, so I got a job offer, so I'll be teaching 4th grade in the fall again, so I'm glad I'm back in there.
Where are you moving to?
We're here already. We're in Illinois. I was in Alaska, and I was teaching 3rd and then 2nd grade. But my
Where
husband...
in Illinois?
Do what?
Where in Illinois? I'm from Wisconsin, so.
Oh, gotcha. Nice. Southern Illinois, so like where we live, it's 20 minutes outside of St. Louis.
Okay, so you're way down there.
Yeah, way, way down there. And it's a lot of farms.
Yeah, lots of farms.
Lots of cornfields. And actually, I'm from Michigan originally, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
How'd you like Alaska?
I loved it. I miss it a lot. My sister's still there, so it's very hard to be here.
What got you to go up there?
My husband's job. He's an explosive ordnance disposal tech for the Air Force.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's quite a job.
Yep. He loves it though, so I mean, he's happy. He's not deployed right now, which is good. So.
It's always good.
Yeah, it is, and we should be here like 3 to 4 years. I'm not sure how long, so I'm gonna check on Twitter a minute and make sure that Natalie got the information. I know she was planning on coming, so.
I just got Natalie from her. How did she join? She said.
Oh, did she just join? I didn't even see it.
Well, she just tweeted me that. So
okay.
We should tweet her the link again.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I think Lee put it in email too, so I'll try emailing her. My computer's really slow when I run Hangouts.
I haven't done too many Hangouts.
I watched a couple on your webpage.
Yeah.
1 or 2 that you did with a group of guys.
Yeah, we were hoping to get kind of a regular group going, but all of our regular lives got in the way.
I'm sure. I can imagine.
But
okay, it's going just really slowly. There we go. Does your daughter take a long nap for you?
Anywhere from 1 to 3 hours.
Nice.
Well, the 3 hours won't happen. That's only if we keep her up late or something like that.
Gotcha.
So this will be probably an hour and a half.
Yeah, my youngest is 5, so when she takes a nap, like she won't take one for 3 or 4 days, and then she'll take one, and when she does take one, it's like 3 or 4 hours, but then she's up all night, so. Yeah. Kind of hit or miss.
My daughter's 3, and I have learned this about 3. It is a magical age. She is fun.
Yep.
Looks like she's still having trouble.
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to. I tell her that I email again.
I can try to copy the link that you sent me and just tweet it to her.
Okay, that's what I was trying to do too. I'm not sure, but my Twitter keeps saying it's not working.
All right. Let's see here. Reply. Mm.
Yeah, there's quite a few and links on there. I don't know why she can't get them.
I do think Google Hangouts are a little, I don't know, they're not too intuitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally. But
No, I agree. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think. I don't know.
all right, let's see here.
I can just start if you want. I mean, it's questions that we came up with us. There's 3 of us in the group, and one of the people in the group haven't posted any questions yet, but I posted one, and then Natalie posted a couple. So.
Yeah, I have the questions up here.
Okay.
Do we? I mean, do we want to? I don't know if we want to ask her. I don't know. I feel bad. She's clearly trying to join.
Yeah. No, she is. I agree, and I'm fine with waiting if you are. I just feel bad. I know that you have things to do. So.
Oh, that's fine. Did you get the email? Let's see. Did.
My computer's being really slow, so I'm not having much luck getting anything to her. I suppose I could try from my phone too.
Congratulations on getting a job, though. It's not a easy market.
Yeah, it's really tough too to get a license here. I had to take 3 tests, 2 to get my initial and a 3rd to get my professional license. And that's even with, I've taught 9 years. They don't recognize like other states. So.
Do they recognize it at least pay schedule wise?
I have no idea. I hope so. It's a lot different from Alaska, though. I mean, excuse me. If they don't, I'm going to be making less than half of what I made in Alaska. So.
Alaska pays that good?
Yeah,
or Illinois pays that bad? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Illinois pays well, but I think Alaska pays pretty well. So, and that was with just my bachelor's, but I finished my master's in August. So, hopefully they'll recognize that. We'll see.
Yeah. Let's hope.
They're a little difficult. So.
Natalie says she's installing the plugin.
Gotcha. Yep. We'll see if it works.
Cool.
Poor thing. What a pain. I think I did a couple of these last semester, so I have all the stuff for it. Quickly popped out for a minute. How was ISTE? Was it nice? I'd love to go sometime.
That was amazing. I had never been.
Yeah.
It is incredible, but it is overwhelming. I mean, there's 19,000 people at the conference.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was. I don't know. Like I've never been to a conference like that. I've gone to the National History Conference, and that has about 8,000.
Okay.
And I don't know, like it's just different. I came to one session 45 minutes early, thinking I would just find a seat, answer some emails, and it was already all filled, and they had to turn away about 200 people, and that was me there 45 minutes early to the session.
That's crazy. Did you lead any sessions, or did you just attend it?
I did a session on gamification, so that's what brought me there.
Yeah, and did you have like thousands of people there watching you?
No, thankfully not. I don't know if I'm ready for the thousands of people, but it was myself and another woman. We had probably 300, that's about the average for the sessions there.
Gotcha. I would be so nervous.
It's all right. I would be nervous for thousands, jeez.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's all right. You do it enough, and
yeah,
pretty easy. Oh.
Is she coming?
Somebody. Hello.
Hello. Can you guys see me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. So we can get started, I guess.
Sure. Let's see. Is that Natalie? It showed up as a different name.
What is it
Yeah.
showing up as?
Parker.
Parker?
That's my last name.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that we weren't, because it's live, so I didn't know if it was like some random person. Hey, Natalie.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No worries. We never see each other because we're always on Twitter, so it's kind of hard. Do you want to just go through the questions, Michael, or do you want us to ask them, or what would work best for you?
I mean, we can just go through this together here. We have first question is, how is gamification different than game-based learning? My answer, my take on that, I mean, it's pretty simple. Like, gamification is using game mechanics that are most motivational, most engaging to students in non-game settings, like the classroom, like business, right, like the coffee shop. Game-based learning would be using a full production game, whether it be a video game, a board game, a card game, to teach a principle, right? So I think that's the big difference between the two, and I think it's something that a lot of people get wrong. I think a lot of people confuse the two. I mean, it's simple once you hear it and once you know it, but I think most people hear gamification and they assume you're playing games, and that's not always the case.
Yeah, I think that's what administrators think too when you say that at first. They think they're just going to be playing games.
Yeah, well, actually, and I mean, even at my school, even my fellow colleagues, some of them that don't get a chance to see what I'm doing in my classroom, sometimes are left with that impression, and then, you know, it's at a team meeting or something that you share what you're doing, and they're like, oh, I didn't think that's what gamification was. So, I mean, I think a lot of people just assume they hear that word game, and then you kind of, that takes over the definition.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what I thought too. Nicole, do you have anything to add, or?
I think pretty much from the video that I watched yesterday, which was, I'm not sure where that was, that this past semester video.
I think so.
Kind of gathered the same information.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is. I think both could be powerful. Like, I don't look down upon one over the other. Like, and I think the two can be used together in a classroom setting. But that's my definition.
Michael, do you use both, or do you just use gamification?
I guess you could say I do 90% gamification with 10% game-based learning. But the game-based learning is more, I don't know. I'm a history teacher, so I found one board game that does a really good job covering the end of the Roman Empire. So we play that, but then I use gamification on top of it. We don't just play the board game. I made extensions to what we're doing in the classroom, and some of the activities they do in the classroom relate and give them. It's kind of like I used the board game, but then I built more rules on top of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Besides the board games, Michael, do you have any other examples of game-based learning that make up that 7%?
I do. Well, probably not. Like, I would say that board game's the number one, unless you count. I mean, some teachers would count review games or something like that as game-based learning. I wouldn't have that fall under game-based learning because you're not actually using the game itself to teach a principle, right? So I wouldn't count Jeopardy as game-based learning.
All right.
So I would say really I only have that one unit that I use an actual game for. But I mean, I can give you other examples, just not from my class, right? Like, I mean, right? You could say like Oregon Trail is a great example of game-based learning. You know, where students have studied going to the West, the challenges that there are, and then they're put in this sort of rich simulation environment with the game. That would be a good example of game-based learning.
All right.
So I don't know if we want to move to the next, or if you have more questions about the difference, or more questions about one over the other.
I think we should keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward? All right. Next one's your question, Natalie. What is the difference between earning badges and earning items? You mean in a general sense, or specifically in my game?
Specifically in your game.
Specifically in my game, there is little to no difference. So like in my sessions that I usually run teaching people about gamification, I talk about something called currencies. And if you're doing a year-long game like I'm doing, you eventually need more than one currency. So when I started my game, I only had XP. Students were gaining XP, and that was it. But quickly into my game, that was too, I don't know if linear is the right word, but there was only one thing that they could sort of chart, they could kind of grow in. And I think students kind of wanted a more rich experience with multiple things, multiple skills they could be good in. So this is where this concept of currency comes in. It could be literally like you could have gold, or you could have health points, or you could have magic points, or whatever your game wants. So I came up with a couple new currencies, and items were one of those currencies. So, and badges were another one of those currencies. So in my game, badges are used. They gain badges, items, and experience points for doing side quests. So I pretty much don't let them earn those things for doing their class work. So for me, class work is what you're supposed to do. Don't really get paid for it or whatever. But doing a side quest could earn you those things. And that just gives me a myriad of currencies to which I could give them. If it's a fantastic, oh my gosh, blew me away side quest, I can give them all three. I could be like, you earned a badge, you earned some items or a item, and you earned some XP. If it's an okay side quest that they did some work for, you know, I can just give them XP. For me, XP is kind of actually the lowest common denominator, so that's the easiest thing to earn on a side quest. Item is sort of the in-between, and badge is the hardest thing to earn. And the way I've structured my game, to win the game, they're trying to earn as much XP, and at the end of the year I'm going to add their XP, and I plunk their badges. Each of my badges are worth a certain amount of points, but they're hidden. So they don't really understand the value of badges other than the fact that they need to earn them. And I do that intentionally because when you're running a year-long game, you don't want kids to just calculate out, like, we have no chance of winning, so why play? You know, we're down by 3,000 points. You know, the badges, I tell them, are worth, I don't know, 50 to 40% of the overall game experience. So, and they don't know that value. So it's a better way to keep students engaged because they can't calculate out that they're winning or losing. So that's what I use the badges for, that will get added at the end. And then items, for me, is what gives them that sort of status, because items, well, they both give status. Having a lot of badges is cool, but items are what allows you to do things in my game. So a badge is just that. It's just a badge. It's just like, hey, I did really well on this side quest. Items are what allows you to have a special power, you know, whether that means, you know, choosing a seat or earning some bonus XP, whatever the case may be. Items are sort of the actionable items. I don't know if that answered your question. I think it did.
Yeah. Just one last question about the items. In watching the video that I watched, I remember seeing, like the locker badge, like where they could go to their locker.
Yeah.
Is that something that once they earn that badge, they have that privilege for the rest of the year? Or is that kind of a one-time pass? Or
So I do all sorts of those. I mean, I have things that are one-time use. On the one you saw, I think in the video, it had 5 little circles at the bottom. So each time they use it, they cross off a circle. So that one has limited use. And then I have other ones for things like that that are unlimited use. And really, what I would tell a teacher that's thinking about starting this is, for a lot of things, break it up like that. Like have a crappy version of everything, and have a medium version of everything, and have a kick butt version of everything. Because the hardest thing for me to start with was items. Was like, I can't think of things to give away and for these students to earn. So when you have an idea like, hey, cool, going back to the locker, that's helpful. Well, if you break some of those up into those 3 levels, that one idea gives you 3 sort of items, which is always good. I don't do it with every item because you don't want the students to kind of get sick of this like low, medium, high items, but I do it on probably 1/3 of my items have a low, medium, high to them.
How do you manage all of that? It sounds like an awful lot to keep tabs on.
Management is like the key. Like that's the golden ticket. If you can manage gamification, then you can do gamification. If you can't manage it, you can't do it. For me, I use several tools. I'm big on using, I have a Google spreadsheet I've developed over the last couple of years. Actually have that posted on Teachers Pay Teachers. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but that one's really helps me manage all the XP and which houses are winning. It's one of these things where I only have to update sort of 1 or 2 cells, and then the spreadsheet cuts it all up for me, so students can see how they're doing, students can see how their group is doing, how their house is doing, which is their period. So that's really helpful. The items, I can't remember if I talked about it in that video or not, but the item, what I do is I bought off Amazon, you can get like 100 of them. They're baseball card holders. They go in like a 3-ring binder, and there's 9 pockets. And what I did was, that's their person, like that's what they can hold. And so they have 9 pockets for their items. And so it's really easy to manage, because then in the end it's like, hey, I want to go to my locker. They open up their binder and it's like, see, I can go to my locker. It doesn't really take any time, and it's really on them to manage. Like if they lose it and tell me, hey, I have that locker pass, but it's at home, I just tell them like, well, video game wise, I'm pretending that this is like a moment a monster jumped out, and you can't say, well, at home I have my monster weapon. Like, it's got to be on you. If you don't have it, you don't have it. So really, it's more for them to manage, not me. And then badges, I have them tape their badges to the front of their binder. So going down on the binder, you'll see like all these badges starting to appear throughout the year, which has really been more motivational than I thought. Because a lot of students, like the student sitting next to the student that gets the badge, is like, whoa, like they have 5 badges, I only have 1, maybe I should start doing some side quests. And that's been a lot more motivational than I thought it was going to be.
And you make all your badges by hand, or do you do them online?
I make everything on a computer, but I print them all out, my items and my badges. I don't know if this is a grade level thing, but usually in my presentations I talk about that I think this would be true even for high school students, is that so much of our world now is digital, and I think that you lose some some excitement, like kind of that age-old, like people talk about, like when they get a real letter versus an email, like, you know, like email's really darn convenient for everybody, but like there's something to be said about like you wrote me a letter. And same thing, like I think digital badges are cool, but like actually that printed, they hold it, they have it, they earned it, I think it's like 10 times better in their mind. So if you have the time or wherewithal, I think it's better to do it that way, personally.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So they also, I think, students, a big piece of gamification is status. And when you go to something like digital badges, the status is kind of fake because kids would have to log in. Kids would usually have to click your name to see what you have. Well, then that's not status at all, because like that's too far removed. Like, are you going to log in today, Sarah, to check out your own stats? And then are you going to happen to click on my name to see that I've earned 5 badges and have 10 items? Like, probably not. So in the kid's mind, that's no status. Actually, in anybody's mind, that's not really. That's like fake status. So I can tell you, my kids are proud of what they earn, you know, and that status is what partly does drive some students. It's not all students, but.
And they're 6th graders, is that right?
I teach 6th and 8th, and I gamify both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael, it seems as though you have a knack for creativity. Have you thought of all of these badges and items on your own, or have you collaborated with people, or how have you created these really good ideas?
Definitely collaboration with you know, whoever else is doing gamification. So I mean, I would strongly recommend, if you're going to do it in your classroom, you know, to have some Google Hangouts, to have some Twitter chats, also to have some discussions with your students. As your game progresses, they will have, I mean, some of my favorite items came from students. Students were like, you know what we should do? Like, it would be fun if I could monkey with this other group, or if, you know, it would, or I would find it really helpful if I didn't have to take notes or whatever one day, and you could like give me the notes. I always take my own notes, and it was kind of like, you know, I never thought about that. Like, good idea, you know, stuff like that. Like they're the ones in your class. Like, you think you know what it's like to be in it. They actually know what it's like to be in it. So, and you've designed the game, but you've never played the game. So again, they really are your best source of information. But that won't be helpful right away. Like, getting off the ground, you have to set it in place. But once getting off the ground, they are your best source. But a lot of collaboration to start with. And like I said, items were the hardest thing for me at the start. I started with 3 items. That's all I had figured out when I started. And attach it to your content. I get a lot of ideas just from moving to the next unit. Like, I didn't have that item made yet. We get to that next unit, and we're reading, and all of a sudden the textbook makes a big deal about a particular helmet or sword or something, and it was like, oh, that's cool. Or maybe it makes a big deal about a person that's very scientific or whatever, and then it's all of a sudden like, well, we could have, you know, their laboratory or whatever, and that would allow you to do something, right? So like, most of it, like I also generate at least general concepts from whatever we're doing. So if you're gamifying your English class and you're reading The Outsiders, you know, when you get to that next chapter and something happens, think about that. Like, well, how could that be an item or a badge or a challenge, or, you know? I don't know if that's helpful, but.
Definitely.
And what do you teach, Natalie, or do? Teach or do?
I teach 7th grade math.
Awesome.
So
There's a ton to do.
The history standpoint kind of gives you, I feel like, a little bit of an edge to.
No way. Math math is like, I could think of like super easy ones for math. Like, I don't know, do you want to gamify your whole class or a unit?
I think eventually I want to gamify my whole class, but I mean, I really like your advice of getting the students involved, because I've seen how their input can be really helpful, and but I don't know, I want to start small, start on the small scale.
Yeah, so why don't you start with a unit, you know? You get back to school and start with maybe your second or third unit. And when you do it, like, if I don't know what a unit is for you, if that's 2 weeks or something, but take notes on like what your students are experiencing and feeling, and then maybe the rest of the year start to think of how you could expand that same concept out to a year. Would be one way to do it.
How would you do it?
What?
How would you do a unit? Would you come up with like a theme first, or where would you start?
Well, that's basically the route I did. I did a Greek unit, you know, and typical Greek unit would just, you know, whatever. Typical unit, I would just study about all the like governments and gods and whatnot, and I just took some of those concepts from gamification, broke them into teams, and we wrapped it around a theme of Olympics. But they were still learning all the same stuff I taught them every other year. But when we were doing some gamification, I referred to them as their city-state, you know, so there's a little theme going on there. City-states are competing in these Olympics. And the overall point was they were trying to earn Olympic points. That was my XP in that game. And we were seeing who would win the Olympics, but not necessarily by event, but just by earning these Olympic points. And structured very similar to what I do now, like they earn Olympic points by doing the extra things, not the required things. And I did that for, I don't know, 2-3 years, and then a little light bulb went off in my head that it was like, if this is their favorite unit and they do insane work and love it, why am I doing this only for a month out of the school year? Why don't I do this whole school year?
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically how mine started. So I would choose whatever, you know, you're doing your fraction unit or whatever. I would then choose, like, make a theme about that, like either choose a style theme, you know, either a mystery, I don't know, post-apocalyptic, like our world's got ruined or something, you know, and like we need to figure this out and we got to break the code or whatever. Underground agency, like whatever, you know, you pick whatever you think will be, whatever thing you can sort of jive with. You could be in the future trying to solve this, like, I don't know, somebody took away the idea of denominators and screwed up the world. Now you got to figure it out. But from there, like, come up with some things that they can build some camaraderie around. Like, I think that's another big point of gamification. So don't make it just about the individual, make it about the groups. So in that project, like, have them work in teams. Teams also help you build excitement, because I don't know if you ever watched a comedy show with somebody that doesn't laugh, it's not very fun, right? And if you just have them play individually, it doesn't always work. So you want them to have that team spirit, that excitement. So whatever your theme is, whatever the storyline is, like, have them be in teams. Another great way to start, if you really don't want to like create your own, I always suggest do something that they already know. Like, copy the show Survivor, you know, like put them in tribes and say, like, you know, and then you already have a pre-built language, right? Like, you have tribal challenges, you have what is it called? The tribal council is where they vote, right? So like, then you just have to figure out how you're gonna like put your content in there, but you already have a pre-built game that's already kind of exciting, and your themes are already there, and your vocab's already there, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. I don't know. I've done many ones where I rip off, like I do a Survivor one, next year I'm going to do I don't know if you ever watched the show Master Chef, and they do these mystery box challenges where they like lift them up and it's like, oh crap, we got to make what out of this? I'm going to do similar thing in history, like, because I see on the TV show how like that mechanic is exciting, like it gets, so I'm going to put in some supplies and they're going to have to like in 45 minutes produce something, you know, where there's some research, so there'll be like a document in there, there'll be like a device in there that they can type it on, you know, and some other various things, and I'll be like, boom, you have 45 minutes to do this as a group, you know. But that excitement of like, what's under the box, what are we going to get this time, what are we going to have to do this time, shoot, you know, and borrow some of the mechanics from those kind of TV shows. I don't know if you watched it, but like, people get like eliminated, then there's like a pressure test, there's usually a team aspect the first half of the show, they're red and blue team working in together, whatever team wins doesn't have to like deal with the pressure test, the other half does have to deal with the pressure test. I don't know, so like, that whole mechanic I didn't come up with, somebody else did, and that's actually what I love about gamification is education. We invest all of our money in content development, and that's good, like that's what we're in the business for, like, is to get that content. However, like the game industry, and in my last example, TV, but that's a game, invest all their money in engagement. That's all there. How can they get the user to have the best experience, to understand, and to continually want to play? And I think the best thing for education, now you got me on my soapbox, would be if we married the two, right? If we could have half content development, but also like, I don't know, I haven't been to a staff meeting where we spend the staff meeting talking about engagement and keeping the user or the student fully engaged, you know, and what's that peak engagement and how can we keep them in that zone. We seem to like, we just, I don't know, I think we take for granted that our students legally have to show up, like, and we confuse having a full house with us having success, and they're required to be there. That doesn't mean they want to be there. So let's try to make an engaging experience. So that's how I would do a small unit, is probably beg, borrow, and steal from something that's already been developed. Hunger Games is really popular, like make a Hunger Game theme. They're in different districts, whatever, you know. I wouldn't make a game about killing, but...
Yeah, those all sound like really good ideas. Have you ever seen it used in like a lower elementary or even an upper, like 4 or 5? Because it sounds like it'd work well with like 6th and up. But
Oh, definitely. I can try to dig up her website. I met somebody. I gave a presentation at an ed camp. She went back and then like gamified her math class, and I think she's 2nd grade math.
Mm-hmm.
And like kids leaving the room saying like, math's now my favorite subject, and like they're working in teams and trying to develop this. I could put you in contact. That's not upper elementary, but if she can gamify 2nd grade, I'm pretty sure you could gamify 4th grade. So
yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and do you know if at your new district are you going to be teaching kind of all the subjects, or does your team split it up that you're science and English and somebody else is, you know, math and whatever?
I think I'll be all of them, but the district has really grown, so I'm the 5th, 4th grade teacher, so I'm kind of joining a pretty cohesive team already, so I'm not sure if I'll be like a 5th wheel or if I'll mesh well with everybody.
Sure.
So I don't really know my role yet, but we'll see. And probably my first year, you know, it'll be learning the curriculum, and I know when I interviewed, she told me the programs. I've never heard of them before, so I'm sure I'll be learning the first year. I won't be gamifying this year.
Sure. Again, think about possibly doing like a unit down the road, you know, like once you feel like you got your feet under you, maybe 4th quarter, you know, spice things up. I think 3rd quarter is a great time if you're going to do 1 unit, at least in Wisconsin. 3rd quarter is the like middle of winter, and they have like nothing to look forward to because winter's still another like 2 months to go. So when I did that Greek unit, that's when I did it, and it was always kind of like a rally point, like it was an exciting thing during a very non-exciting time during the year.
That sounds awesome.
If you're going to do one, and you're in Illinois now, like maybe third quarter.
Michael, how does your regular grading in your classroom take on sort of a role of its own, since your XP points and your grades are like a separate thing? How do you balance that as a teacher?
I don't know if this is a good answer, but I'll try. My grading is really a little bit like college grading. You know, like there are a few assessments that they really have to meet, and if they do, you know, they do quite well. I do have a fairly large what I call like participation, right? But I try to document that participation so that it could be that large, right? So that it can be legitimate. As a social study, I don't know if this is true in all subjects, but in social studies, I feel like the point of social studies is to not only teach you about the past, but also to make you kind of an engaged, informed citizen, which entirely rests upon being able to have good discussions, right? To get in there, to think about it, and say something. So for me, I intentionally set, our whole department does this. We set our participation kind of high, and we say to parents, like, in our classes, this isn't like a little slush fund grade. This is like serious business. We gotta like make sure you do quite well. So a third of their grade for me is participation, which is huge. I think a lot of people keep it at the 5 to 10% range. So, but the other 70% for me comes down pretty much to the tests and projects. Their homework is to learn the skill, so I don't really take off for that. What I do for homework does enter my game in that if they don't do their homework, then the game will punish them. So while they can't earn points for doing the homework, they can lose points for their house by not doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I reading, like, and I believe this about the literature about gamification, at least with XP, there should be some currency you have in your game that once earned does not get reduced. So I don't take away their personal XP, but if this makes sense, in my spreadsheet, I have like a line. So like when you look at the bar graphs, what it's doing is adding up all the people from your house and saying like, hey, you guys have 10,000 points. But then I have another spot on the sheet where I can put a value and just arbitrarily like subtract from that total or add to that total. So I can say like, man, your class had an awesome day today. I'm just gonna, boom, here's like a bonus 1,000 points for your house. I'll just put it in that line, and it doesn't actually go to any individual student. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and homework-wise, I'll like use that. So like you personally won't go down, Natalie, but your house will go down, and your house is working together to try to be on the top, so they won't be very happy that their house just lost a couple hundred points today because you didn't do your homework. So, but grade-wise, I guess you could say, other than my participation being that high, I would say it's very traditional grading. I mean, it comes down to these tests and projects. So I would imagine in a math class, it would really come down to your, chapter tests. So,
yeah.
If I was to be teaching your class, it would be the chapter tests.
Yeah, it seems like my classroom, the way it's set up right now, is very conducive to, gamifying the classroom. But your answer kind of led me to my last question. If you were to break up, Michael's, I guess, workload into percentages, what percent do you spend on, for instance, gamification aspects of your classroom and lesson plans and grading? I'm just trying to get a feel for, I guess, the workload and how you've sort of managed your schedule from that standpoint. Do you understand the question?
So you're asking about me personally?
Yeah.
Not my students. You're saying, like, how did I manage lesson planning, grading, and gamifying? What percentages?
What percent of time do you of your time do you sort of allot to the gamification aspects? You know, creating badges and awarding them, and keeping track of the points, and
Sure.
adding little themes here and there. And
I will say it is a bit of a Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole that you could be going down. So it is, you have to be disciplined. It is as much as you want and as little as you want, right? You could, I could spend months just 100% on the gamification if I wanted, thinking about best ways and good theme and make killer badges and stuff, but obviously my classroom would suffer if I did that. So it is in one sense balance. The other thing I try to think about is, for me, this is an intentional choice. Like, I am going to do this for the foreseeable future. Like, I can't see a year that I'm not going to gamify in the near future. So part of me thinks it's like an investment. Just like if you developed a killer lesson or killer unit, it's worth your investment to make that killer unit so that you can use that killer unit next year, right? Like, same thing. Like, if you spend 2 hours this week or 5 hours this week coming up with some cool badges, a cool theme, a cool whatever, that's money in the bank for next year. Like, you're going to be able to reuse that 5 hours worth of work next year. You know what I'm saying? Like next year I'm going to start my game with every item I've ever made. And that's way better than I started that first year where I had 3 items. And next year I'm not going to just sit there. I'll still add, I think last year I added another like 20 items, mainly from student conversations. I sort of stopped thinking about it because I had enough. And it was like, oh, but if you come to me, Natalie, with here's a great idea, and all I have to do is spend 20 minutes like drawing it up, like, cool, I'll draw it up and go print it off. If you did all the hard work of thinking what the item does, and what the item's named, all I have to do is make it. Like, cool. So it can be, I guess you just got to be careful. It can be overwhelming, but I will say this too, the rewards for you personally make it work you want to do. Like, I can't describe, it is palpable how much the students are excited to do the next academic thing. I mean, like, it's crazy. So to me, that gives me the drive to come home at night and think of another quest they can go on, or another gamification tool. Like, what's another thing I could drop in to make it a little unexpected? They were assuming tomorrow's going to be a regular day. Boom, maybe this is where I'll do one of those mystery box challenges for the first time, and that they won't know anything about it. Like, they'll just come in thinking tomorrow's a regular history day, and all of a sudden, what's this about? And like, boom, now you got them like excited, and the next day they're going to come in and wonder, So for me, I guess if you wanted a percentage, it obviously fluctuates, but if I was to average it out, I would say I use a good 10 to 20% of my planning time on gamification, maybe 25. But that's mainly because I just see it paying dividends, right? Like, I think that return on investment, that idea, those 25 minutes I think do more for me and for my students than the 75% that I do. Because when it's not about engagement, I mean, I could sit here and read all sorts of books about ancient Greece and have the coolest, best lecture, the best info, all those little tidbits that are always interesting and on the History Channel or whatever, and I could gather them all up. But I mean, in the end, that's not what motivates the student. Like, they're not here to learn as much as we want them to be. They're here because they have to be. Now our job is to sort of get them to learn that material and want to learn that material. And that's where, like, geez, every time I spend time on the gamification side, I see them this incredible pop in terms of, like, geez, I have to read this because my team's counting on me and I need it and I want to, like, do my best. And then they start to have academic traction. I talked about that the other week. People sometimes wonder about intrinsic versus extrinsic. And while a lot of gamification is extrinsic, I feel like the extrinsic reward is what gets them into the intrinsic of school. I think if we're all honest, most of us were not intrinsic when it came to school. Like, I don't believe it. I don't believe that any, like, fourth grader out there is intrinsically like, I just want to learn today. You know, like, I think if we gave them the option, they would choose summer, right? Like, so, but you get this academic traction when they start to be involved, they get excited by the game, they play the game, and then they do well on the test or your end of the chapter review, and they start answering more questions, and they start to see themselves as like, hey, I'm good at this. And then the game starts to not fade away. They still like the game, they still play the game, but they're equally motivated by their own talents now.
That's awesome. I think your examples you've provided us seem really doable.
You guys can do it, I swear. 7th grade math, 4th grade everything, it can happen. And where are you, Natalie? Are you in Alaska?
Yeah, currently I am. This is where I vacation for the summer, but I'm actually in Virginia.
Virginia, awesome. Well, I mean, when you guys look to gamify, I mean, I am happy to continue to chit-chat if you guys need ideas of items or different game mechanics. I mean, mechanics, that's my biggest passion. You said, Natalie, that I'm creative. I'm terrible on theme. On the game dynamics, I'm not very good. My colleague who I teach with, she's awesome at game dynamics. She writes like a awesome story, you know, and like the kids get into the actual characters of the story. I don't do hardly any of that, but I do excel, I guess, at the game mechanics. How can I get them excited about something today? What's a different challenge? How can I cut this up so that they see it in a little different way? Because really that's all a game is. A game is just a series of challenges. But if you're now the game designer, you have to think of what are those challenges I'm going to put in there. How am I going to... It's actually counterintuitive to teaching. Like you're actually thinking of a way to impede the process as opposed to streamline the process. But while it is counterintuitive, it's true to life. Like that's what we strive for. We strive to overcome challenges. So when you put those in there, that's where the students actually like get excited. Like, oh, like a really dumb example. I had them write on a little one-page sort of mini research paper. Like it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that long. The only challenge I added was they couldn't use Wikipedia. Like that was the only impediment I gave them. But you should have saw these 6th graders. They were like, "What? You mean you'd think I would have like cut off their arm?" But after the whining, they were like, they took it on and they did it, you know. And that was just a slight example of an impediment I put in there, but they overcame the challenge.
Awesome. Do we have a time limit on this? I know we kind of I was a little late getting started into the discussion, and Sarah, do you have any input on that?
Go ahead, Michael.
No, I mean whenever you guys need to go, I I just want to make sure you got your questions answered and whatever you need.
I'm assuming you can hear my daughter screaming. Is that why you said that? She's crying. My son just shut the door, so I'll have to go shortly, but I'm sure glad that you were able to meet with us, because I certainly don't know as much about it. I've never done it, but I may be in touch in the next few months, maybe third quarter, because I don't think I could handle it second.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, do it. I really strongly suggest both of you to look into it. It's a positive, powerful change in your style of teaching and in the end for the students. I really firmly believe it's what allows our students to become lifelong learners. They are more comfortable in a game environment than they are in a school environment. So, as sad as that might be, this is the game generation. That is what they do most of their time.
Mm-hmm.
So they understand that concept more than they understand your classroom. So.
Wonderful. Well, Michael, you've been an excellent resource on gamification and truly an inspiration.
Cool, thank you. So, all right, well, anytime, just shoot me a Twitter or email. Sorry for not getting back right away. We were a little bit on vacation there.
No, you're fine, and I'm sorry for badgering you.
No, that's all right. That's good. Little badgering's A-okay.
Okay.
All right. Take care,
Thanks.
guys.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Natalie, did you have any questions about the leaderboard or anything? I haven't gotten a lot from John. My daughter's a little tearful, I'm sorry, but if you need something, I can help or whatever. You're fine, come here.
I'm not really sure what the deal is with John. He seems like he's missing a little bit, but I've started looking at leaderboards, but I guess, should I, as far as like the blog goes, since he hasn't posted his blog yet, how do you want me to do like the comments and sort of proceed on, like, just say he didn't participate in the unit or the module?
Yeah, well, I thought about asking Lee about it, but part of me thinks we're adults, we're now our grad students, we should be professional, and I shouldn't have to say, hey, someone's not participating. So, I mean, I certainly can, or I was thinking if you want, I can just put up a blog real quick. I'm learning too. I mean, you probably know as much as I do. You know, it's been a lot of research trying to figure out about it, and I give you 10 extra points for the XP, whatever, for the questions anyways, if you did more, so. Otherwise,
I can keep just pushing forward at this point. I thought about even kind of going back and forth with the comments that you had posted to my blog.
Okay.
If you want to do it that way too. So yeah. I guess at this point I'm still kind of trying to find a good platform so I can get started from that aspect, and when I dive into that a little bit deeper, I'm sure I might have a couple questions that come up. But I'm definitely moving right along, making forward progress, and I guess the only question I have is if I do choose the leaderboard platform that you had used, are you opposed to that, or do you want us to come up with something different?
For me, I think that's the easiest. So I would say certainly use that one, and if you want, we could split it. I could do 4 weeks and you could do 4 weeks, but I don't know if I'm supposed to leave it for John to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to step on any toes if he's planning on doing it all at the end of the week versus doing it daily like you and I are kind of doing on our different modules. But I don't want you to have to do all of it because I know we have a lot going on. So, you know, whatever you're comfortable with, that's pretty nice because both of us can get into it, and, you know, I could help you if you wanted to, and John can sign in if he wants to, and he can do it. I like it. There's ways to not have to enter the scores manually either, but I really don't know how yet. I just haven't learned enough. I've been emailing back and forth with the company to try to learn more about it. But maybe in the long run, like a Google spreadsheet like what Michael did would work, but it sounds like it was quite in-depth, and I'm just not up to that level yet. So leaderboard was a good choice for me because it does most of it for you. I don't know, makes sense.
Okay. I'm fairly comfortable with spreadsheets and formulas and getting all this else to work out, but I definitely need to look into the leaderboard platform a little bit deeper and kind of get my feet wet on that. And other than that, I think I'm pretty clear on the directions right now.
Okay, cool. And I've really been enjoying the different apps and stuff. We did the GeoBoard one today, and my son played for a while.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a good time. So,
All right.
Sounds good. I'll let you go. I think I've got to take my son to the doctor too. So.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Okay, sounds good, Natalie. Thanks for coming. Sorry it took you a bit to get on.
All right, thank you, Sarah.
Okay, bye.